From Hollywood comes the most exciting motion picture news of 1938. Walt Disney has completed and released his first full-length feature production, Snowwhite and the Seven Dwarfs, in Technicolor, the most daring adventure in screen entertainment since the birth of the motion picture. As its credit titles, longest in cinema history, flash across the nation's screens, audiences for the first time realize the tremendous amount of manpower required for the production of this epoch-making animated picture. The entirely new form of storytelling that already...
The animated feature film appears to be the most consistently underrated and misunderstood format of filmmaking. A big offense is that these films are marketed towards a demographic of children as simply entertainment pacifiers. But several decades in, the reach for these films is virtually universal. Even if the trailers or posters don't reflect this, the potential of animated narratives is steeped in their originality and intensive world building. Pixar and Disney are the traditional torchbearers for these types of films. On the edge of the same coin are the stop-motion savants at Laika. Built on the remains of Nightmare Before Christmas, the studio released their first feature-length stop-motion film in 2009, Coraline. Their sophomore effort was Paranorman in 2012, and following that was The Box Trolls in 2014. But hands down, my favorite of their criminally short resume has got to be this year's Kubo and the Two Strings. This story touched my emotional core. Many of the aspects I appreciate in animated films are all present here. Approachability, distinct aesthetic identity, honest vocal acting strength, and an honest moral. But what puts Kubo and the Two Strings a cut above most animated films is its 2020 awareness of story consciousness. The film is a story about stories and memory. It doesn't belabor the point, even if you choose not to be critical while viewing it. It's completely sensual from the very beginning. Fabricated hair rustles, as do the leaves. Tiny cups clink onto stone, synthetic waves roar, split by the resonant force of the pivotal shamisen. Hats off to the audio design team for their careful attention to detail and the texture of the film's sound. And the soundtrack is too gorgeous for words, only elevating the traditional hero's journey to a story I hope that kids who are watching now will have nostalgia for when they're older. As real as the film gets you to feel, the direction by Travis Knight and his team of animators does the stop-motion justice by not making the world too realistically large. We get broad paintings of Japanese-inspired oceans, a village, and samurai strongholds, but they still feel like dramatized silhouettes of a Japanese diorama. It isn't Japan, but it feels like it. I have a deep respect for the portrayal of most of the characters in the film because they work in two different ways. The first is that they are still emotionally tangible. Kubo as an unguided kid is built on his desire for closeness with his family and his naive assumptions of strangers. He is thrust into the dangers of feeling and acting too much, despite an unrecognized strength that he has to learn to control. If Kubo is the anchor, then Monkey and Beetle are the loyal crew, constantly bickering but otherwise ensuring the safety and growth of their young captain. I do hold issue with Monkey seeming overly baked, while Beetle's history and personality gets the short end of the stick by comparison, but it does make sense given Kubo's situation, and in saying that I am being purposely vague to avoid spoilers. The element of dread is palpable, which is an aspect shared with Laika's first film, Coraline. The main antagonists include two murderous aunts eager to take Kubo with them. Their appearance is ghastly and intimidating and unknowable. I'm both comforted and disturbed by Laika's ability to imbue their character designs with such strong expression. I found an interesting parallel to this conflict from Avatar: The Last Airbender, specifically between Fire Nation Prince Zuko and his sister Azula, a bond that's strained by hierarchy. This conflict in the film creates the underwritten theme of identity within one's family, which treads similar waters to Asian American films, but I would be remiss to confidently consider it as one. Before seeing this film, I had some reservations towards the fact that the voice cast was predominantly white. Art Parkinson, Charlize Theron, and Matthew McConaughey are devoid of any Asian, let alone Japanese descent. So it's a curious and troubling trend that the main characters of Kubo and the Two Strings, an animated film, could not have Asian voices. The supporting cast does include George Takei and Cary-Hiroyuki Tagawa, but honestly, excluding Asian names and voices from the spotlight is a tired, old American tradition that does not send a good or different enough message that we should be seeing today in theaters. Kubo and the Two Strings is without a doubt one of the best animated films this year that manages not to be overtly offensive in what could easily have been another tone-deaf reappropriation of Japanese culture. It absolutely is an enjoyable time, and I only wish that Laika made more of a meticulously conscious decision with their voice casting as they did with the rest of the film. Kubo and the Two Strings reminds me of Harry Potter, The Legend of Zelda, and Avatar: The Last Airbender. Those are all things that were a part of my childhood, and that's the line I'll use to sell this film to people who need to see it. I saw this film twice and cried both times, and you should see it too because Laika needs money and support, and it's beautiful. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, leave a like, leave your comments, and consider subscribing. And if you really need a score, thanks for watching.